Hare Krishna. We're running late. I'm just going out of my house. I was reading something this morning. Oh, it's bright out here. I was reading something this morning and I got enthralled. And I kept reading and studying. And I couldn't stop myself. Oh, I have to go inside. I have to get the key. I got the wrong key. This is a behind the scenes look at today's class. Today, I was reading something Prabhupada said about, he was asked about where Jesus is. So we're going to read about that. It's an interesting question, right? Where does Jesus live? What planet? Where is he now? What's he doing? So we're going to read about that. We're going to read some other questions Prabhupada was asked. Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly. Anyway, here it is. This is our place. Nice, huh? I'll put it this way, and you can walk with me. That's my office and studio, which is not well insulated. A little bit insulated, but it can get quite warm in the afternoon, even with the AC on. Okay, here we go. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now we walk in, this is what it looks like. And you want a behind the scenes look at how I set it. So we have this. This is where the phone goes. Da-da-da-da. We pull the windshield down because it's you get too much light coming in. This one gets less light, but still and pull it down. Then I have this light, which I put here. Just fills in, plug it in. There we go. Then I have my computer in my bag, which we put here. Updated the document this morning. I study every morning. And then I have my microphone. Da-da-da. It goes right here in front. You don't see it. It goes into this little gadget, which then outputs into the phone. And I will show you. Hold on, don't go anywhere. You will notice the difference now. I plug it in. There it is. And my keyboard's over there, and I have to bring it around. The 1999 model Yamaha. Okay, and here I am. Only a few minutes late, but you got the tour. The behind the scenes, how we do this, whatever you want to call it, podcast, the Mahatma Show, Laugh Your Way Back to Godhead. How do we do it? This is how we do it. Yeah. Okay, so if I can take a moment, I'll just pull up the doc and then I can give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about. How does that sound? It's always good to know in the beginning what we're going to talk about. Okay. This document we're reading from, we're now on page 16. So it means we've read quite a bit. Okay, there's a really nice section. Prabhupada's being asked, as we said, where's the position of Jesus? And then he's being asked if we'll go back to Godhead in this lifetime, and Prabhupada gives an amazing answer, a very encouraging answer. And then Prabhupada explains the process of how you go back to Godhead. And because I was reading a lot today. Yeah. Anyway, I think there's a few quotes, Kamini, we didn't finish from yesterday. Is that correct? If you can guide me to where we left off. I believe it's misuse of independence, craziness. No, we read that. No, maybe that. Anyway, another question. Once in the spiritual world, you're full of bliss. Why would someone choose to come to the material world? Did we read that yesterday? And Prabhupada's answer, because you're crazy. That's why. Why did we come to this world? Because you're crazy. That's why. You need another explanation. There isn't one. All right, so I'm going to get the keyboard. That is a little summary of what we're going to talk about today. Of course, with all your questions and interactions, we never know what direction this is going to go. We end up talking about so many things. Social issues and apasiddhantas and psychology, and who knows where it goes. With all your questions and discussion, it can go anywhere. That's what makes these classes interesting. So, let me get the keyboard. We'll do a little kirtan. Tomorrow, after class, there's going to be a kirtan. They're doing a kirtan mela in Delhi. I think the Rohini temple, they asked me. So we'll have a special feature tomorrow where we'll do kirtan after the class. I'll just have to go off, go back on. So that's nice. Hare. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Did you know? Well, you didn't know this. Maybe you knew this. But when they bought the Los Angeles temple, the current temple, in 1970, it was a church. And there was a room in the church that had a pipe organ, as churches often have. And they had pews, which are those wooden seats, 6-8 people sit. And they had a stage and a pulpit. Pulpit meaning, I think there's another name for a pulpit. It's a little wooden structure. You put your book on it, you stand up, it comes up to about here. And the microphone comes out. I forget what they call that. And Prabhupada would give lectures from there. And then Vishnu John Swami would play the organ. And Prabhupada liked that. And it had stained glass windows. He would play the organ. That's the organ he would play. That's called the pipe organ. That sound is connected with many Christian churches, Catholic churches. We went to Notre Dame, I think 2 years ago, and they had a choir and a pipe organ. It was amazing, the acoustics in there and that organ, and it was fantastic. So, and Prabhupada liked that, and they had stained glass windows, and he said, it's like it is. He really liked that because people could come in and sit down. It wasn't a jump room. I don't even know if they had to take their shoes off. And he would, it was so like what they were used to in church, and he liked that. There's sometimes criticism of Krishna West for whatever. But Prabhupada liked this. And so I read a story yesterday about, I don't know if you know this, but if you look at old pictures of Los Angeles, the temple is in a different place than it is today. So that anytime you see old pictures of Prabhupada in Los Angeles pre-summer 1970, no, maybe 1974 or so, it's in the old temple room. So Prabhupada liked it. He said, just leave it like it is. I like the stained glass. I like the pews. As people will feel comfortable, etc. And then the temple president decided to turn that into a temple room, which is the current temple. So they did a beautiful job. It had onyx pillars, beautiful paintings. They covered up the stained glass, painted, put on the stage. They made 3 altars like that. And Prabhupada came to LA and they showed it to him, and he was so angry. He said, I told you to leave this as it is. You disobeyed me. He was so angry. He liked that so much. It's that interesting story. So today, to celebrate that story, we're going to play the pipe organ, or the sample of the pipe organ. Pipe organ is these huge pipes. I can't create that sound here exactly, but you get the idea. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Kunjabi Hari, Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari, Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari, Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Sri Radha Madhava ki jai. I was just thinking, that story, that is such an important story. If you've been to Los Angeles, you know the temple room is very beautiful. Deities are amazingly well taken care of. They have a beautiful altar. It's all marble floors. Everything is amazing. They have murals on the ceiling, artistic paintings above the deities. And Prabhupada comes in and he's angry that they did that, even though it was so beautiful. He didn't want that. He didn't want it changed, and they changed it. Interesting, isn't it? What goes on in the mind of a disciple. Yeah. From what I remember of the story I read, Prabhupada was extremely angry and said, "You have disobeyed my order." I have AC, but I'll let you... Gomati Gangadevi, here's what the AC sounds like. This is why I don't put it on when I give class. And if it gets too hot, I can go in my other room, because the AC is not as loud, and I have a microphone that's not as sensitive as this. That will, I put it right by my mouth, it'll just be a slight hum, but I think this is too much, right? To compete with, to give a class. And it's like the yogis are chanting Om in the background. I don't know. If we could get an Om AC where they just go Om, maybe someone could invent that. That would be better. Or even if they could chant Hare Krishna. You know, when the cows chant Moo, it's more purifying than the yogis chanting Om. Maybe we can get a mooifier. I should probably have recordings of cows. It's such an auspicious sound. Do you know, in the early days of ISKCON, there was a group of men, tabla and two shanai. Shanais are like miniature clarinets, kind of, or maybe miniature oboes. You may have heard them. And Prabhupada said the shanai music is auspicious. So he had these men, as far as I know. You know, when you come into Mayapur, there's a gate, the main entrance, there's a gate. And you could actually walk above the gate, there's a sitting area. And they would sit there and they would play. I don't know if there was a mic and it was playing everywhere, but they would sit there and play. As Prabhupada said, that Shanai music is auspicious. It's auspicious to chant to. So some devotee made a recording, and I can't find it now. There's a recording of Prabhupada chanting with Shanai Japa. You can find that online. Because that's how we used to chant. Isn't that interesting? You know, who would think, that kind of music would be something you chant japa to. So someone had recorded that. In many, many temples, they would put a tape in the temple of the Shanai music, because it reminded us of Mayapur, and Prabhupada said it was auspicious. And in some temples, someone recorded the sounds of Vrindavan, the peacocks, and you'd hear that. And they would put that on, and so you'd be chanting japa in the temple, and you'd be like you're in Vrindavan, or you would be in Mayapur. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if you all knew that. We used to chant japa to the sounds of Shanai music. I'm going to try to close this more. It seems like we're getting tremendous amounts of light. It was so bright this morning. This morning when I got up, the sky was like full of stars, clear. Something's going on. Maybe it's not so, that's a sign maybe it's not so humid. So, Kamaniya, do you know where we left off? Next verse. There's no need of eating. Okay. Let's read the last one, just because, I don't know, maybe we didn't give it enough time. And I don't know if there are any questions that we didn't answer from yesterday. If there are questions or comments, you can put them in the chat. Okay, let's read this one from yesterday, just because maybe there's more to say about it. All right? It's called Misuse of Independence is Craziness. This is in 1974. We did read this, but it was very much at the end, I think the last few minutes, and we didn't really talk about it. So, this was a lecture that Prabhupada was giving at a Franciscan seminary in Melbourne. Madhavisa says, he wants to know, Krishna says that once you are in the spiritual world, you are full of bliss. Why would someone choose to come to this material world? Which, and Prabhupada began speaking, which is obviously not blissful. Prabhupada, that I have already explained. A rich man's son, he thinks he will be happy independently. His father has got everything, but he goes out of home and chooses to live independently. That is craziness. Similarly, when you come to this material world, giving up the protection of God, that is our craziness. So a crazy man must suffer. Therefore, we are suffering. Yes, but you have the right to become a crazy. Wow. Should we call today's class? You have the right to become a crazy. You have the right to become a lazy also. You have the right to do anything. That's mean because you have the right, you should do it. What does Prabhupada mean? Krishna allows you to become crazy. So I like it when Prabhupada says something is crazy, because often when he says something is crazy, it's something we're either commonly doing or commonly thinking. And I think it's helpful to think, I'm in the material world, how did I get there? I did something crazy. Okay. Second point, I'm still here. That means I'm still doing crazy things. It follows logically, and it's helpful to think, I'm doing crazy things. If you want to stop doing something, then if you think what I'm doing is crazy, it makes it a little easier to stop. Don't you think? It's hard to stop something if you think it's good. If you think it's crazy, it's easier to stop it. So, first mistake, we came here, that was crazy. Second mistake, we're still here. That's even a sense more crazy. Because the first mistake was one mistake crazy. The next mistake is continual mistakes crazy. The third mistake, a crazy mistake, is to be offered a way to get out of this and not take it. That's probably to me, in my calculation, each phase is more crazy than the last. Okay, I was crazy to come here. I'm crazy to stay here because I'm suffering. And I'm most crazy when I'm offered a way to get out of here and I don't take advantage of it. And so that's how we can think as devotees. Krishna is giving me opportunity through this process of bhakti to get out of here. And if I don't take it well, don't take it seriously, don't apply it well, etc., that's probably the most original crazy decision that we made. All right, so next time you see a devotee, say, Prabhu, I want to tell you something. What? You're crazy. You're still here. You're crazy. Anyone who's still here is crazy. You know, Prabhupada wrote that article, Who's Crazy? And the point of the article was to show that everybody's crazy if they're not Krishna conscious. And there's a story. You know, people look at devotees and they think, oh, these devotees are crazy, which from their point of view probably makes sense to them because we're not like them. Now, one time someone was saying that, you know, they're making fun of the devotees, and Prabhupada said, well, what are they saying? And he said, they say we're crazy. They're saying we're crazy. And Prabhupada said, No, they were saying, they think we're crazy, Prabhupada. And he said, they think we're crazy, but we know they're crazy. That's the difference. They think we're crazy, but we know they're actually crazy. And what's the qualification of being crazy? Running crazily after trying to enjoy. So, welcome to all you crazy Prabhus. You're still here. That's crazy. And unless we are unless we take what Prabhupada's saying and apply it as best we can, that's a kind of craziness. Like, why wouldn't you get out of here? Does it make sense? Like being in prison. It's like, hey, it's kind of nice in here. Free food, place to roof over your head, nothing to do all day. Yeah. You know, Prabhupada said some criminals, when they get out of jail, they perform crimes to get back into jail because they have no place to live. So, something like that. Okay, so now, Kamaniya put the verse I'm going to read now. So you have to go back up. Up, 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 up. Way up. Way up. Oh, Jai Lakshmi got my book. Fantastic. Fantastic. Kamaniya. I know I speak for many of us when I ask if you'll kindly consider turning on your AC for classes. It's unbearably hot and humid in Alachua. You already suffer so much tapasya. Well, if it gets really bad, I'll turn the AC on in the other room. And if it gets really, really bad, then yeah. Can we get him a silent AC for his office? You know what is it like in America, Vijay Lakshmi? Let me tell you what it's like. I found the AC unit. I found the ultimate ideal one. The less than ideal one is not that expensive. It's like $250 for this room and $250, $280 something. They're probably okay. I don't know how quiet they are, but they're quieter than this. The ones I really need in the long run are about $1,000 each. But this is America. And you know how much people want to install? I don't want to scare you. But so far, I've called 2 companies, and they want $3,000 to install the unit that costs $1,000. And I figure it's going to take them 4 hours. Okay, even if it takes them all day, give them the benefit it takes 8 hours. They want $3,000 for 8 hours of work. And all I can say, Vijay Lakshmi, is welcome to America. We had one of these AC units installed in India. And the unit with installation was bigger than what I'm getting, was 1,000 or like 900, equivalent of $900 US. So that's the problem with living in America. That's the problem. Isn't that crazy? It's like you want to beat somebody up because they have a monopoly. They have plenty of business. It's difficult to install. The average layman can't do it, so they take advantage. It's like going to a dentist, right? In America, if you go to a dentist, it's very expensive. In India, it's not, because they spend a lot of time in college. In India, the doctors are not wealthy. In America, they're quite wealthy, generally. It's a different culture. So, I think I can survive for the next hour. It's not that bad now. If it gets bad, we'll turn it on over there. It's not so loud. And August is when it's really going to be crazy here. But if we can't afford, they may be able to give credit on the installation. I'm trying another company. If they're not so expensive and they give credit, then I think we can afford it. Otherwise, I'll get that portable unit and it's going to go right here. I don't know if it's going to work. If it goes right here, maybe we put it back there by the back window. I don't know. I have to get it, install it, turn it on, see if it's okay. So, I'll tolerate it for now. Now it's okay. Yeah, but then you have these recordings going out on SoundCloud and everywhere with this in the background. But I have another microphone. I have to put that other microphone like this. But I can experiment with it. Maybe tomorrow we'll experiment, okay? With the other microphone. I know you can hear me. Do, 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 do. So tomorrow, yeah. Fan, yeah. I bet I don't have a fan. I have to get a fan. Yeah. Misuse of independence is craziness. Okay. So we established that we're crazy. I think, Kamini, you have to post the next one. The next quote. Who is crazy by Prabhupada? Yes. There's an article. Who's crazy? Look in the mirror. You get the answer. Okay. We're meant to be crazy for Krishna and Krishna's enjoyment. Yeah, why not? Gonna be crazy for something, right? Oh, do you hear that band play? Yeah, I'm crazy about them. Oh, you like these veggie burgers? I'm crazy about these veggie burgers. Yeah, you will be crazy for something. Might as well be crazy for Krishna. Adhoksha tuning in Scotland, Glasgow. No hot weather problems there. You got nothing to worry about in Glasgow. Yeah, you do. You know why? Because when it gets like 20 degrees centigrade, everybody says it's hot. That's the low. The low at night here is about 20 centigrade. But in Scotland, Ireland, when it gets 20, everybody's like, oh God, it's so hot here. I don't know how I can live. Isn't it? It's so funny. A swamp cooler, a fan. We'll see. I'm waiting for, there's a devotee air conditioning company, so I'm waiting for them to call back. At all the AC people, they're so busy, nobody calls back. They come out, they look at the place, and they never call back. Meanwhile, I'm in the Mahatma Sana office. Yeah, it's, anyway. Okay, well, the verse that you put up, there's no need of eating. That verse you already put up, you can put that up again. So Krishna Karshani says, let's say that we have been crazy to leave the spiritual world, which I don't believe, and crazy to come here because you had a choice. See, the whole point, Krishna Karshani, is it doesn't matter because you made the choice to come here and you could have chosen to go to the spiritual world. So whether it's the choice to stay in the spiritual world and come here, or the choice that I wasn't in the spiritual world, but I do have the choice to go there or choose to come here, it's the same thing. It's not that you were born here, you're tatashta. You're given the choice to come here. It didn't happen by accident. And the choice you were given was you can go up or you can go down. So we chose to go down, but we could have gone up. So even if you say, I didn't fall from the spiritual world, if you study how that's explained, that we're in Brahman and we had the choice to either go or come down, we came down. So it amounts to the same thing. You definitely can fall from Brahman. So it amounts, it amounts for us from a very practical point of view, it amounts to the same thing. So you're in Brahman, now you're in Brahman. There's no Krishna there, but you're in this ananda blissful state. But you can fall from that state. That's right in the Bhagavatam. Arura Krishna param param tata. You get to param param, this supreme Brahman position, and you can fall. Prabhupada said, why do you fall? You get bored. There's nothing to do there. Solitary confinement. So that's what's going on right now. So that's the craziness that Prabhupada's referring to. It was a choice. It wasn't like, we all just woke up in the material world. It was a choice to come here based on our envy of Krishna. That's so, as I said many times, whether it was the 10th floor or the 110th floor, we ended up on the ground floor for the same reason. So, I'd put up misuse of independence. Okay, craziness. Yeah, so now we're going to read the next one. There's no need of eating. That's the one, Kamini, you put up first. There's no need of eating. But if they like, they can eat. This is a question. This is a question about eating. Srila Prabhupada, is it that in the spiritual world every day is feasting? Because that's the idea, chanting, dancing, and feasting. That's the question. You see that coming? I think it was the same one you just put up. There's no need of eating. Morning walk, June 7, 1976. Prabhupada. And there is no fasting. Fasting is recommended when a man is diseased. When he's in health, there's feasting. So spiritual world means health. Why should there be fasting? So that's another advantage of going back to Godhead. No more fast days. You're healthy. You don't have to fast. Sorry. And our disease is uncontrolled senses. Prabhupada. There is no sense agitation. In other words, your senses aren't agitated. Sorry. No, for us, condition. Prabhupada, yes, condition. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, you wrote that the Kalpavriksha trees Hold on. You wrote that the Kalpavriksha trees, they move. They are not stationary. Prabhupada, they're spiritual. Trees that move. I read your comment, Krishna Karshan. You made the same comment. I think it's like the 6th time you made the same comment. We've been discussing it over and over and over again. That's why I'm making this point. I keep making the same point over and over again. Independence, you can get out, you can misuse it. You always have independence, you always have choice. If you misuse it, it's craziness. And if you desire to get out, Krishna sends you a guru. So you can't say that they can't get out, because when you want to get out, Krishna sends you a guru. He gives you intelligence. He helps you get out. So it's craziness to stay because it means you want to stay. That's our philosophy. It's, there's no other philosophy. There's no other way to explain it. That's just how it is. We have independence. I mean, everything we're reading, Prabhupada's saying, you have independence, you misuse it. So we can't say, well, there's a position where I don't misuse it because I only can misuse it. No. If you only can misuse it, it's because you're born into a situation where you only can misuse it because you want to misuse it. You don't want to use it, so Krishna doesn't put you in a situation to meet a pure devotee, to get a book, so you don't need it because you don't want it. But as soon as you want it, you get it. That's the point. So you can't say it's not craziness. It is craziness because we want to be independent. That's the craziness. And, why is someone born in some situation where they'll never hear about God? They'll never hear, why? Because that's what they want. And if at any point that changes, Krishna will arrange that they'll meet somebody, devotee or somebody spiritual, they'll learn. That's the point. So it's always us making the mistake. Oh, okay. So let's continue reading. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you wrote the Kalpavriksha trees, they move. They are not stationary, Prabhupada. They are spiritual. So it's not, Prabhupada's making the point, it's not the concept of an ordinary tree. Rameshwar, is this true for the plants and flowers? Prabhupada, everything. They are spiritual, absolute. There is no condition. Because it is tree, it cannot move. That is condition. So it's like you have these devotees, they're asking Prabhupada these questions. They're trying to figure out the spiritual world, and there's like trees moving and plants moving. It's like, looks like a cartoon, you know? It is like trying to get their head around it. And you can see Prabhupada's just trying to explain that it's not like what you think. It's not like here. It's not like this. Don't try to think of it like this. This is not like this. And you try to think of it like this, you'll never understand it. And they don't have any other way of thinking of it than like what it is. And Prabhupada's trying to explain, no, it's not like that. And you'll see where this goes. It goes nowhere, actually. And it's just funny to watch this. So Prabhupada says, everything, they are spiritual absolute. There's no condition. Because it is tree, it cannot move. That is condition. No, it's not a tree like this world that it cannot move. Rameshwar, no condition. In the spiritual world, can trees and plants communicate? Here they have no means of communication. Prabhupada, everything is possible. So it's like, Prabhupada's just like opening their mind beyond the limitations of what we see, you know, trees talking. It sounds like a cartoon, right? Prabhupada, you can milk the cow. Rameshwar, the animals can also understand and communicate. Prabhupada, you can milk cows as many times as you like, as much as you like, and talk with them. Prabhupada, yes, there's no limit. That is the spiritual world. So here's the key. Prabhupada saying there's no limit. You can talk to cows, you can milk cows, you can milk trees, they'll give you as much as you want. There's no limit. That's the key. There's no limit. So we're looking at it in terms of limitation. How can a cow talk? How can a cow give unlimited milk? How can a tree give unlimited? How can anything give unlimitedly? And Prabhupada's saying, it's not limited. It's not the way it is. Everything here has limitation. Don't look at the spiritual world that way. Hari sorry. This is so funny. And it follows this same trend of thought of devotees trying to figure out what the spiritual world is like. Prabhupada trying to explain it, and you could kind of see the way this conversation is going is like Prabhupada's trying to explain it and they don't get it, and at some point Prabhupada just stops trying to explain it because he realizes they can't understand. So Hari Sari says, one thing that has always confused a lot of devotees is how is it possible to eat something in the spiritual world when the thing you're eating is also spiritual? That is a perfectly materially logical question to ask, totally inappropriate to ask about in the nature of the spiritual world, because it only makes sense materially, makes absolutely no sense spiritually. But anyway, that's how we think. So we ask the question. No. Prabhupada says, there is no need of eating. You have a spiritual body, you don't have to eat. He said, but if they like, they can eat. Enjoy. What does enjoy mean? It means service to Krishna. So if there's, why would you eat? Because Krishna's eating and you're all eating together to enjoy rasa with Krishna, not to enjoy the eating. Something like that is what Prabhupada means. You don't have to eat, but if you're eating, it's service to Krishna. So there's no need of eating, but if they like, they can eat, enjoy. Rameshwar, the taste, the flavor. But what happens to the thing they're eating? Prabhupada laughs. That you will see when you go there. Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, this is our disease. We're talking of spiritual world. We're bringing material thoughts. So why did Prabhupada say that you'll see when you go there? Because he gave up trying to explain it. Because he's seeing they can't understand because they're looking at everything according to the limits of their own experience. And so that's why Prabhupada ends by saying, when we're talking of the spiritual world, we're bringing material thoughts. He's talking to them. You're talking about the spiritual world. You're bringing your material thoughts. You're trying to see it from the material point of view. So what's the conclusion? you'll understand when you go there. I can't explain this to you. You don't get it. Interesting conversation, isn't it? So maybe we can reflect on this, that we're trying to understand the spiritual world. And even this whole topic of fall down, and we're trying to understand it from a material perspective. It doesn't work. It doesn't work according to material logic. It doesn't work according to material laws. So you have to be careful not to try to understand Krishna consciousness according to my material logical way of looking at everything, because then all you end up is with your materially logical way of looking at everything, not necessarily looking at it as it actually is, but instead as you see it, or as you want to see it, or as you need to see it to make sense to your material logical mind. But so that's the danger. So that's why Prabhupada says, when you go, you'll understand. And that's why this whole fall of the jiva, Prabhupada didn't want to discuss it, because he could see it's like nobody can understand. It's going nowhere. You ever have a discussion and it's like it's going nowhere? The other person can't understand you. You can't understand them. So discussion, that's where Prabhupada concluded. Basically, he's saying, this discussion is going nowhere. So let's stop discussing it. And let's go back to Godhead and not worry about it. That's the way we see this conversation. Obviously is going this way, but even that conversation, the fall of the jiva, that's where it ended up. That was like Prabhupada's final word on the matter. Just like you can't understand. Just don't worry about it. You can't understand. It's not. You don't have to. You can't. So just understand. You need to get out of here. That was basically how it ended. So then the other thing we understand is that some things we will understand when we understand them. And what does that mean? It means it's beyond material logic. It's beyond the parameters of our material thinking to understand. But when we become more advanced, then we'll understand it through the purity of our consciousness. And through the purity of our consciousness, Krishna can speak it, reveal it to us. So sometimes the answer has to be, you'll understand when you understand, because you can't understand before you understand until you're qualified to understand. So some things we're just not qualified to properly understand, and we will understand when we understand. Although that sounds kind of like a cop-out answer, but it is the answer. How will I understand this? Once, Prahlada Maharaj told a story. When he was a young devotee, he asked Prabhupada, how will I understand what to do, what's right and wrong? And Prabhupada said, you won't understand. You're just a young boy. How will you understand? So sometimes it's like that. You won't understand until you're more experienced. You won't understand until you're more purified. So and we don't want to speculate, well, I think it's like this and that. If I can't understand, better just say, I don't understand, and I'll want Krishna to reveal it to me. And if you look at what Prabhupada's saying here, from a certain position, you could say, Prabhupada's saying, if you say, I don't understand, then you've understood. And what did you understand? You understood that you don't understand, which is better than thinking, I understand when I don't understand. Right? So Prabhupada's saying, you can't understand, and that's the understanding. The understanding is, you can't understand. So that's also a conclusion. I can't understand until I'm purified. So I don't understand. That's an understanding. You understand what I'm saying? If I don't understand, I understand that I don't understand. Did you understand what I said? Yeah. So that's how I see what Prabhupada is saying here. Like, he's saying, listen, you don't understand. Do you understand that you don't understand? Do you understand you can't understand in your present state of consciousness? So you'll understand when you get there. Don't try to understand here because you can't understand. That's what Prabhupada's saying. And I think it's very valuable advice, isn't it? There's certain things you can't understand unless you're qualified to understand them. And until we're qualified, it won't make sense. And it won't make sense materially. And when we're qualified, it can make sense spiritually. Or, as Prabhupada's saying, it'll be realized. You'll understand. Krishna will reveal it to you. You'll see it. You'll understand everything. Or, as I say, if you have questions that you feel can't be answered, well, when you go back to Godhead, you can ask Krishna. You know, hey, how come? How come it says this in this scripture, and it says that in that scripture, and this doesn't make sense? Of course, we back to Godhead, we won't care about that at all. You know, it's part of the preaching mission. There, we just care about loving Krishna. Okay, so now we have another one. We have another 3. I just put this next one in. I just thought it was interesting as information. This is entitled, Where Does Christ Live? In case you were wondering. Now you're going to get the answer. This is Evening Darshan, July 11th, 1976, New York. Yeah, so Kamaniya, I'll wait for you to put that up. I know you don't agree, but Krishna Karshani, but that's my point, is that's your material limitation, that you don't agree because you're seeing it materially. Anyway, Krishna is crazy. Every Krishna. You didn't turn your back on Krishna, you just kind of got blown over by some hurricane and fell in the material world. You didn't choose to take birth in the material world. I mean, what are you saying? That's not our philosophy. To say I don't agree is to say I don't believe our philosophy. I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying I don't believe Krishna conscious philosophy, that we have minute independence and we're always misusing it or using it. I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying there's some situation where you don't have a choice to use or misuse your independence. You always have a choice, even in the mode of ignorance. You have a choice. We were all in the mode of ignorance. Prabhupada came. We used our independence and get out of the mode of ignorance. So we always have a choice in every situation. So I'm not sure what you're saying. It's not clear to me. Christy says, we cannot grasp the spiritual realm with our tiny logical minds. Yeah. So we have to be careful. I mean, if you grasp something with your tiny logical mind, and what you grasp is what is the Siddhanta of our philosophy, no problem. But if you're grasping something that is not our Siddhanta, then you have to think, okay, I'm looking at this materially because I'm not coming up with the conclusion of Shastra. It's like I don't feel it could be this way or it doesn't make sense to me. That's fine. But what does Shastra say? Shastra says this. So then you have to try to make sense of what Shastra says, not make sense of what your mind thinks is sensible. You understand? That's the point. And that's what Shastra says. We turned our back on Krishna, turned our face towards Maya, and that's why we're here. We made a conscious choice. That's in the Shastra. Prabhupada said that. It's in the Shastra. The Acharyas said it. It's clear. And once we've come here, then at every moment we're making choices. And if you're, as I said, if you're in a situation where you say, I can't make a choice, that was your choice to be in a situation where you'd have no choice other than Maya. It won't happen accidentally. That's the whole point. So even if we go with your argument that I can't make a decision, but Krishna put, I'm in this body, of a cockroach. What can I do? But that was your desire to be in that cockroach body because you were like a hippie in your last life and you're really dirty and you became a cockroach. So Krishna gave you that body to fulfill that. Now I can't make a choice. Unless I become a cockroach in the temple and eat prasadam. But assuming that's not going to happen. But I made the choice to be the cockroach. And there's all these consequences that come from it. And I have to suffer those consequences. And then again, when I become a human, I will have that independence to choose. Why did these devotees make it so complicated by asking questions that won't really help? Krishna, because the ultimate goal is... Because, you know, when you're with Prabhupada, you know he can answer any question. And a lot of the questions, I was mentioning this yesterday, are curiosity questions. They're not that important. They're like, you know, just kind of informational. It's like fun. What do they say? Fun facts. It was like fun facts questions. Prabhupada, what's the fun fact about the spiritual world? You know, when you eat a carrot, what happens to it? Anyway, Prabhupada's being generous here. He's not chastising them. He's just laughing at them. Basically. Ha ha ha, you can't understand this. Just go there. Stop asking these questions. You go there, you'll get the answer. This photo. Let me see this. I don't know. I can't, if I click on the photo, I can't go there. But if there are like some doors behind Prabhupada, his asasana, if it doesn't look like the regular temple today, in spiritual world, no need. But, if anything is in the spiritual world, it's not because it's needed materially, like in the material world, we need things materially. Like, if anything's in the spiritual world, it's because it will enhance our service to Krishna, or enhance our relationship with Krishna. That's why it exists. You don't have a material body, so why would you need a bathroom? You don't have a material body, you don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep. But as we said a few days ago, the eating and sleeping is there if it enhances the relationship with Krishna. But otherwise you don't need it. You need subways and, you know. And you have mystic power to fly, you know, so they're your vehicles, and, you know, anything you think, it's, you know, it's like Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's so interesting when we try to understand the spiritual world, how difficult it is. Srila Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is saying the living entity is guilty of their fall down. So why Krishna created a living entity with propensity to fall down? It seems he made us not perfect because we made... He made not perfect decisions. In this case, how can we blame living entity of being imperfect? I mean, all is not black and white. This is ABC answer that we were given very early on in the movement, because we all have these questions. Because Krishna doesn't want to force you to love him. Love must be an independent free will choice. So he gives you the free will to love him. That's the simple answer. So we are constituted eternally as Tatashta, which means we have minute independence. Or we read yesterday, Prabhupada said, you have the qualities of Krishna minutely. He's independent, so you have, because you're part and parcel of Krishna, you have his qualities, but you have them minutely. So because he's independent, you and I have independence. It can't be any other way. And because we have independence, we can always misuse it. But, as Prabhupada said, the same misuse of the independence that got you into the material world, now that independence that messed you up is the very thing that's going to get you back there. So that independence we misused, which caused us to come here, is the very tool, is the very agency by which we go back. We use to go back. So if we want to blame the independence, it's the independence that's actually going to get us back there. But we're eternally independent. Minutely, little free choice. We can't do everything we choose. But minutely independent. I mean, it's a little bit of choice. That's the philosophy, Tatashta. That's what it means. Living entity is Tatashta. That's his nature. That's how he is. If you have a problem with that, when you go back to Godhead, you can talk to Krishna. You go, Krishna, okay, I have to imitate what you're going to do. You're going to go like this. You're going to go like this. Okay. Krishna, why'd you give independence? That doesn't seem right. Why'd you do that? You can talk to him about it. Until then, it's just a reality, is what it is. If you don't like it, there's nothing you can do about it, because that's the way it is, All you can do is misuse your independence, right? And this is all coming from our, this like eternal position where, Krishna, I got some issues with you. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? It's all part of our conditioning. I mean, if I was God, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't give them independence, and they wouldn't misuse it. Then they would just all stay here, and we wouldn't need the material. And that's material thinking. No. But Prabhupada has said so many times, Krishna does not want to force you to love him. Krishna does not want a relationship with anyone that's being forced to have a relationship with him. He wants you to love him because you want it. And that's what he wants. Otherwise, the Prabhupada has also said the nature, what is the difference between matter and spirit? Matter has no independence, has no free will. Jiva, soul, living entity, what distinguishes him from matter is he has free will. Otherwise, what's the difference? Here, this is my phone cover. It has no free will. What is the difference between this phone cover and me? I can take this phone cover and throw it up, throw it away. I have free will. It has to do whatever I do to it. If I bang it, it has to bang. If I throw it, it has to fly. That's the difference. It's matter. Matter is dead. There's no life. There's no soul. There's no well, that's a whole other discussion. But there's no consciousness. There's no independent will. That's matter. We're soul. What distinguishes us? Living entity, independent, free will, choice. That's what this is how Prabhupada explained this. He said, otherwise, you're a dead stone. If you're alive, you have free will. That's the very essence of life is free will. You can't take that away from life. If life has no free will, it's dead matter. It's just being manipulated by somebody else. Okay, you imagine you couldn't do anything. What are you going to do today, Krishna Krishna? I'm waiting. Waiting for what? I have no free will. I'm waiting to be moved in a certain direction. You imagine? You'd go totally crazy. When Gandhi wanted independence, they said, if we give you independence, you will destroy the country. And Gandhi said, I don't care. We want independence, even if that independence causes us to destroy the country. So the point is that the living entity by nature demands independence, craves for it, it has to have it. And it was just an example. Independence is so important to us. Even if we destroy a country, we want independence. So that's the nature. You can't, if you take that away from the living entity, he's not a living entity. He's a rock now. I have no independence. Okay, class is over. I can't decide to give class. I'll just stare at the screen until somebody above me, makes me do something. But I have no desire anymore, no free will. That's our philosophy. So that's why it fits. So let's continue reading. Oh, at least I'll go down. Christy says, I look back at silly questions I used to ask before, and one really needs time to study and comprehend the transcendental knowledge. I still ask silly questions, but maybe a little less silly. Well, there's a nice story. Krishna. One devotee's in the car with Prabhupada, and he asked some question about Prabhupada and his spiritual master. How many times did you see your spiritual master or something? And Prabhupada, he thought, it was some question, I think that was a question or something similar, and Prabhupada thought, what is the use of this question? It has no value for anything or anybody. And Prabhupada shot back. He said, why are you asking this question? And the devotee asking it realized it was just curiosity question. It didn't, whether he had the answer or not, wasn't going to change anything. He immediately realized that, and he said, "I'm sorry, Prabhupada, I shouldn't have asked." So, you can ask questions, but before you ask, think, does it make a difference? Does it matter if I know this or not? That's at least one aspect of what you might call a silly question. Does it actually mean anything? Do I have to know this? If I know the answer, does anything change? Now you might say, if I know the answer, it's purifying. Okay. It's inspiring. Okay. But if it's just like information, it's just out of curiosity, fun facts, it's not generally you inquire from the spiritual master so you can advance in Krishna consciousness. So that's the idea. Let's read on. So now we can read. Where does Christ live? Evening darshan. And then we'll get to your question, John. Well, yeah, let's read it now because it's just in order. And then we'll go back to the previous discussion. Prabhupada, did Christ return to the spiritual planets when he left the earth to be with Krishna? Prabhupada, he is coming from spiritual planets. He is authorized representative of Krishna. We accept him as Shakti Avatar. I was invited in some priestly meeting in Melbourne. They asked me the question, what is your opinion of Christ? So I said, he's our guru. Laughter. Actually, we accept him as our guru. He's preaching God's message. He is Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts God, he is Vaishnava. He was explaining kingdom of God. So according to time, circumstance, audience. In other words, he was explaining about Krishna according to that audience, in that particular context. He was explaining kingdom of God. So according to time, circumstance, audience. Now we can just imagine what kind of people he had to deal with. That his commandment is, thou shalt not kill. Then understand how much they were accustomed to killing. So what kind of men they were. And not only that, in spite of hearing his instruction, thou shalt not kill, they killed him first. So what kind of men they were, just imagine. He said, thou shalt not kill, and they decided, we shall kill you first. So this class of men he had to deal with. Yes, what would happen to people that killed Christ on the cross? Very bad, it seems. Prabhupada, Christ cannot be killed, but they killed themselves. Interesting. Hare Krishna. All interesting points. So let's read what John has to say. When I first read Prabhupada years ago, I could not even read the text. Now, years later, I love reading Prabhupada, but I need help understanding, still always will. So, our understanding of Krishna consciousness is deepened by our understanding of Krishna consciousness. That was profound, right? Write that down. Our understanding is deepened by our understanding. What does that mean? It means we can only understand according to our level of advancement, our level of purity. As we become more pure, we understand more. And part of the process of becoming more pure is understanding theoretical concepts. Just maybe only understanding externally. But if I understand theoretically, that allows me to go more deeply into my proper moods and practices of Krishna consciousness. And as I understand Krishna consciousness philosophically better, my heart becomes more in tune with the proper attitudes. And then with those proper attitudes, I execute bhakti, I become more purified. As I become more purified, then I understand more. So, material knowledge, so your understanding is not entirely dependent on your IQ. To some degree, it's just to get the concepts in your head that helps to have a good IQ, good brain. But in terms of actually understanding, what to speak of realizing, it's not material. You can't understand it until you become purified. So like John says, as people become purified, they begin to understand Prabhupada better. And they're reading something. Oh, I read that last year. I didn't understand when I read it, or I thought I understood. And this is, John, this is also experience we have. At some point, you're going to read something and you're going to go, aha, now I finally understand it. I never understood this. Today I've understood this. Never say never. Because next year you're going to read the same thing and you're going to go, and you're going to say, aha, now I thought last year I understood it. Now I finally understand it. Then next year comes, you read the same thing and you go, I thought I understood this, but now I really understand it. So what's happening? We'll never completely understand it. It just means we're more pure, so we're understanding it a little more deeply. That's all. That's what it means. So you could spend your whole life saying, I figured it out. I finally, after 50 years, I finally understood this verse. It's not true. We can't fully understand it. Like Lord Chaitanya, he explained one ways. One verse. Bhaktisiddhanta spent 3 months lecturing on the first verse of Bhagavatam. After Mahaprabhu explained this verse, Atmarama Chamanaya Nigranta Api Urukame, is a verse that the Atmarama is the self-devotees are self-satisfied. This is called Atmarama. The Atmarama means self-satisfied. It's about Atmarama Chaman, the sages are self-satisfied. So, he explained it 64 ways to Sarvabhauma, and then Sanatana Goswami met him and said, could you explain that verse again? Mahaprabhu said, I can't even remember what I said. And so Mahaprabhu went on to explain it to Sanatana. And every explanation that he gave to Sanatana was different than the 64 explanations he gave to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So, yes. You want to hear something funny? It's just so interesting. In Vrindavan, there's a Bhagavad Gita class in Prabhupada's room. Hopefully it's still going on because the devotee organizing it is no longer with us. She always asks me, when I'm there, would you give the class? I say, what's the verse? She tells me the verse, and she says, every week there's one verse and 5 speakers. And every speaker speaks on the same verse, and never, in my experience, did any speaker ever say the same thing that the other speakers said. 5 speakers on one verse. Each class is different realization, different understanding. So as you progress, you're going to understand the same thing. And one day, you're going to read that verse, and you're going to cry. And then when you cry, I can say, now you've understood. Krishna questions, I disagree that we can make choice in the material world. How a conditioned soul can make a conscious choice? Material being covering is confusing. If you can't make a choice, then there's no such thing as karma. Because karma means you're responsible for your actions and your thoughts. Right? Can you choose your thoughts right now? Can you decide to think something bad? Can you decide to think something good? Of course. Can you get out of your chair? Can you stay in your chair? Of course. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna says, this is good, pravritim cha, nivritim cha. The Shastra says, do this, don't do that. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, unless you have the free will to do or not do what Krishna says, to choose to do what he says or not do, number one, why would he say do this and don't do that if you have no choice? Number two, what you said completely destroys the concept of karma, because if we have no choice, we can't be held accountable. I'm just a robot. I'm a Robotron. I'm a mayatron. I'm a modatron, a gunatron. I'm just a gunatron. The modes of nature just cause me. I don't do anything. I just like, why did you overeat? I didn't do it. You didn't choose to overeat? No way. I would never overeat. It's the modes. They did it for me. So if that's the case, there's no karma. And karma would be unjust because you never had a choice in anything. But the fact is, we do have choice. You did choose to overeat, and therefore you get the karma, a big fat belly, or a big fat stomach ache, or a big unhealthy belly, or whatever. Or you end up looking like a balloon. That's your karma for overeating. But you didn't have to overeat, or look like a ball. You want to hear a funny story? I was taking a japa walk with Giriraj Swami. There was a very, very short lady at a bus stop. We were walking. It was the bus stop in a residential area, and we were walking, chanting. There was a very, very short, very overweight. If you have a short person who's very fat, it's kind of like they look a little bit like a ball. So she wasn't attractive. That was my point. It was just kind of short and, looked like from her neck to her waist or her thighs was kind of like, looked a little bit like a ball. And I was looking at her and I was thinking, this woman is not, she's overweight. It's making her very unattractive. And I said to Gershom, I said, if every woman looked like that, I think men would, not have a problem. At least the brahmacharis would have any problem because she's just not attractive. Like you might be hungry, but if everything to eat is not appetizing, sometimes you don't eat. And then Prabhupada said, when you're lusty, any body will do. When you're lusty, any body will do. So if your lust is strong enough, anything will look attractive. I thought that was very interesting. So the way law of karma works is you make a choice, you do something, there's a reaction. So otherwise karma would not be fair if we're all forced to act. Now you might say, but Krishna says, I'm forced to act by the modes of nature. It's true, but we're volunteering to put ourselves under the control of those modes. So it's the mechanism by which the material world works, but we're making choices, and with those choices, then we become conditioned. Like you make a choice to get on the airplane to go to Poland. Okay, once I'm on the airplane, it's up in the air. What can be done? First time my daughter flew, she was like 5 or 6, and she hates traveling. And when we were in a car, she's like, how far? When are we going to get out? So we're on the plane, like a couple hours. It's like flying to India or something. And then she's out now. No, you're on the planes, Okay, I'm in the modes of nature, being pounded by Tamagun. Okay, but I chose to take that airplane, the Tamagun Express. I chose that. So I'll get pounded by it. And that's my karmic reaction for making the choice to fly the Tamagun Express. So that's how it works. So 2 points. Krishna, if we don't have free will, Krishna will not ever tell us do something because that supposes you can't make a free will choice to do it. So why would I, like if I tell you, Krishna Karshani, could you do me a favor and jump to the moon and get a moon rock and come back? Like, why would I tell you to do that? You can't do that. That's impossible. So in the same way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna will never give an instruction you can't do. If he says, control your mind, control this, surrender, and so forth, it's because you can do it. So the whole concept implies free will. The whole concept of karma implies free will. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Important points. You once mentioned that we change our free will with the pure devotee. So it's the association rubbing off on us that can alter our independent choice. Yeah, but unless there was some choice within you, why would you meet a pure devotee? Or you could say, well, the devotees are merciful, they go everywhere. Okay, let's take that argument. Why would you do anything about meeting him? You could just walk by and say, I'm not interested. So, yes, everyone's inspired by the pure devotee. You know, it always boils down to, ultimately, you're going to make a choice. You're going to go, you're going to hear Prabhupada, you hear him speak, and then you decide what you're going to do. He can't force you. And Prabhupada said that. On various occasions, when a devotee left, he said, what can I do? I can't force them. Even when he asked them to do service, he'd say, I can't force you. I'm just asking you, would you do this? So he even dealt with his disciples that way. But if you're smart, you put yourself in the devotee association, and then you reflect the light of their purity. And with that light, then you're empowered to make better choices. But you're always making choices. It's just that association will inspire you to make better choices, right? I mean, think about it. You hear a good class, you're inspired to make better choices. And I am, you know, if you've studied anything of the self-development world of teachings, it's all about this. You know, take responsibility, make your life better. Krishna says, I'm more wondering how perfect soul using free will can make unreasonable decisions. I guess they're not perfect. In perfect position, spiritual world, we're supposed to make perfect choices. Yeah. So like I was saying, maybe you'll never figure it out, but it's okay. You don't have to. We're supposed to, I think that's Prabhupada's point. From our position here, this doesn't make sense. But that's okay. This is not going to make sense. It will not make sense until it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. We just understand that here we are. Congratulations, everyone. You're here. You blew it. So, conclusion of today's class is you blew it. Here you are. Here you are. You blew it, here you are. That should be the title of today's class. You blew it, here you are. That's the conclusion. But it doesn't make sense. Yeah, well, you know, it's like the person who gets cancer who has a raw food diet, does yoga for an hour a day, rides a bike for an hour a day, meditates every day, and then they get cancer. It makes no sense. And they take every supplement God's created. And it doesn't make any sense. I defy the cancer. It doesn't make sense. No, you have it. So now it's like, how can I get cancer? You know, what was, you know, all right, whatever. You've got to cure it somehow or other. That's the idea. It may not make sense to you, but that's okay. I don't think you should, as Prabhupada said, endlessly think about it. Because Prabhupada's saying, don't endlessly think about it. It doesn't matter. It's like, you know that story, Krishna Karshana, Prabhupada says, two philosophers, a bird flies off a tree and the apple falls down. So these two philosophers are like, did you see that? The apple fell, causing the bird to fly. No. The bird jumped off the branch, causing the apple to fall. No, the apple fell, moving the branch, and the bird flew. No. The bird jumped on the branch, pushed it down, pushed off and flew, and the apple fell. And they're having this like big argument. We used to do plays like that. And these two philosophers are having this big argument, and then the devotee comes in front of a picture of Krishna and offers it. And while these guys continue talking about how the apple fell. So it's something like that, you know. At some point, the discussion just has to like, okay, stop talking about it. Just offer the apple. So John says, thank you for posting. Haven't been raised Christian. Have in theology and living in a religious community. It seems to me, looking back, that it was all preparation for just a It was all preparation for just a little taste of Krishna consciousness now. These kinds of quotes have been so helpful to me as I get older and I try, to integrate my life and understand how to serve. Yeah. John was a Jesuit. In our discussions. Bhagavatam is interesting, isn't it? And Vaishnav understanding of Lord Jesus is also interesting, isn't it? I told the story yesterday, I think I told you. This one devotee, her father was a teacher in Loyola University, taught religion. And she had so many questions, and he couldn't answer them. And she was completely frustrated. I've got these questions about life, about God. My father can't even answer them. And the first lecture she went to, Prabhupada answered every one of those questions. Hare Krishna. And I think a lot of us have similar experiences. You know, these perennial questions that are beating at our head. And then we open Bhagavad Gita and go, oh my God, there's the answer. And the answer is so simple. Is there a broadcast issue? I don't think so. You could refresh. There are no silly questions, only giving inspiring answers, even for so-called stupid questions. You are the same, giving inspiring answers, even for stupid questions. Yeah, we don't want to write a book, Stupid Questions, Stupid Answers. We could write a book, Stupid Answers. Ben says, I'm also having a little disturbance at times. I cannot hear for a second or two. Yeah. Either my internet connection is weak or your internet connection is weak. It's probably... if it's okay for others, it must be your connection. It must be a conspiracy by Donald Trump. He doesn't want you to hear the philosophy, right? Yeah, that's it. Hare Krishna. Parker, what makes Lord Jesus authorized authority and other prophets not? Is it just that Prabhupada considered him as Christ mentioned in the Vedas? They say he's mentioned in Puranas. 2 books. Bhavisha Puran, Bhavisha means the future. It's the Puran which predicts the future. And apparently he's mentioned there. Some historians say that the British tampered with Christian concepts in it to convert the Hindus to Christianity. And about Christ, he's coming. So you should follow Christ. But Prabhupada also accepted Christ by his life, by showing, more often than Prabhupada, because he's in the scripture. I don't even remember ever Prabhupada saying that. Other devotees have pointed out the Bhavisha Puran. I believe it's the Bhavisha Purana describes the story of Jesus. Prabhupada pointed it out by his activity. He said he's a pure devotee. Look what he did. Look at his tolerance. Look at his preaching. Look what he said. Look how he changed lives. So by that way, Prabhupada accepted him as a pure devotee. By symptom. And that's what Prabhupada taught us, is how you know who's your guru, how you know who a pure devotee is? By symptom. KKDD says, that's Krishna Kanta Gopalini Devidas. I love to know that I will never completely understand things, so that makes that it will always have to learn, so I'll never get bored. And Sadhyarupa, she can rejoice in understanding that she'll never understand everything, because I think she drives herself crazy trying to understand everything. Will understand when you understand. That is like relieve like 99% of your... She has this mind to understand everything, which is great. It's fantastic. As long as you understand that you'll understand it when you understand, then you'll be fine. Krishna consciousness is eternally interesting. Yeah, that's a nice mantra. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness is you'll never completely understand it, so you're always learning more and going more deeply. If you could understand 3 days, it'd be like, okay, let's move on to something better. Well, I got this Krishna consciousness thing down. I'm off. I'm going to learn guitar now. No, it's never going to be like that. I'm also experiencing lags in today and also yesterday's classes, but thought it must be my internet. Could be. Could it be that sometimes we blossoming devotees just need to put a question to rest for a while so that it doesn't consume so much of our attention? Yes. I see that sometimes. If you it can cause us to be a little distracted. If we take a break from our question, perhaps time, space, and maturity in our Krishna consciousness will bring answers later. That's also true. That's how I handle it, the answers I have received that I have yet to come to terms with. Yeah. You always deepen your understanding. We've been having a discussion. I was reading last night this discussion with a group that I work with, having a discussion on the politically incorrect things that Prabhupada said and how we understand. While to understand why Prabhupada said certain things which are not politically correct, that seem to be derogatory or racist or whatever. And we know Prabhupada's the ultimate compassionate person. No racism in his blood or bones. And then he's saying something that appears to be racist. And that, now somebody brought up this question, like, how do we understand these things? And it's, discussing back and forth, thinking. It's not always easy just to grasp something. It does take time. Or like this, I think for many, many women in ISKCON, especially Western women, it took them a while to get their head around women are less intelligent and, the kind of how they become second-class citizens in some parts of the world in ISKCON, or maybe most, or many at least. And they've, and understand, why did Prabhupada say this? What did he mean? What was he like? And then they understand, they make peace with it. No, Prabhupada was not misogynistic, patriarchal. He was the most compassionate father, generous, loving, and so forth. And, well, if he's like that, how could he say these things? Then you're like, it takes time to understand, well, what's the context? Why is he saying it? Where's the source that he's quoting? Is he saying it, or is he just quoting a source? How does he mean it? What's the context? What is the meaning of this word in the original verse that Prabhupada's quoting? Is it actually translated this way, or is there another meaning? You go to the Sanskrit. Well, it not only means this, it means that. Oh, then that could mean this. So you're increasing your understanding as you go, as you advance. So that's going to be natural. And that's the nice thing about Krishna consciousness, is you can always understand. Yeah. Sometimes I pray about an answer. And sometimes I will think about something, I'll have an answer, then I'll write to God, this is what I think. What do you think? And he may think the same way, he may think differently. He may convince me that I should add his concept to my concept. I may read his concept and say, I don't agree. It does not make. Maybe next year, all of a sudden, I agree with him. I said, now I understand what he's saying. Or now I don't. I still don't agree. So it's a process. Please be sure I'm not consistently thinking about those topics. I started to think about it because you started to discuss. Okay. But I think this is a good conclusion. There is a certain point where we just say, okay, this doesn't make sense to me, and I just have to back off on it and keep chanting, and as I become purified, it'll make more sense. The video is pausing for me also. I think it's Mahatma Prabhu's internet connection, but it's only pausing, not skipping. So I don't think we're missing anything. The recording should be fine, yeah. Let me check my internet connection. You know, I live in the country, and in the country we have old internet technology. About 40 meters away, but there's nothing in the way, so the signal's coming in here, but it's stronger in the house. And sometimes, I don't know, the internet, yeah. We've been doing good so far, right? I've been broadcasting for years from here. So, you know, who knows? The gods of the internet may be active today against it. Okay, so it's time to end class. Class is now ended. Hare Krishna. You can make your prayers. I was raised Jewish. We never did this kind of stuff. But I just thought that was a fun way to end. Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Wednesday. Hare Krishna. And tonight, for our class on forgiveness and virtue and being aligned with the message of Gita. I'm going to try something tomorrow with the AC. The other thing is, I can get this other one, stick it back there, and it's supposed to be quiet. Put it on low mode and use a microphone. I have a microphone, it doesn't pick up noise anywhere, just like right in front of you. So I could talk like this, like the podcasters would, I could do that. That'd look pretty classy, right? Okay, Hare Krishna.